Anyway, so I guess we have a half hour or a little longer than that, so probably just dive in here.
Dive right in.
If you don't mind. But so first, if you could just maybe tell Blue Virginia readers what your top 3 reasons are for running for the state senate, and also specifically why you think you'd make the best choice for Democratic primary voters over your opponent. It's kind of standard question.
Good. Yeah. Good question. Well, I'm running for 2 reasons. I have served on the county board for 14 years. And it actually is at the local level where you're implementing the services that people care so deeply about. Human services, education, recreation, all those services, and transportation options, they're all done at the local level. Some with state financing, but the implementation is local. So that experience has given me, I think, valuable insight on how Richmond should work with local governments. Frequently, the laws are very prescriptive, they're not flexible, standards may not be either as high as we would like or as appropriate as we would like. So I think having that knowledge base would be very helpful. I think more lawmakers should have local government experience. So the second part, and then the second part is a very, it's a very passionate part. I'm concerned about the direction of the General Assembly and this administration in terms of how their vision for Virginia. I would like to see a more welcoming Virginia, a more compassionate Virginia, a Virginia that's willing to make key investments in its people and its manpower. I would have voted with the Senate majority against those 24 anti-immigrant bills. I would always vote for women's choice. I think, reproductive rights are important, and I don't think the government should be intervening in those things. I'd be a human rights advocate on almost every level. I believe in the DREAM Act, and those are the kinds of things that I feel Virginians would support across the board as well.
Right, and for Democratic primary voters having a choice in this election, why would you say you're the better choice than your opponent?
Well,
it's always that.
It's always that. Well, I actually have not only experience in Arlington, I've been a regional leader in Northern Virginia. I chair the Northern Virginia Regional Commission. I chair the Chesapeake Bay Committee for the Metropolitan Washington Council of Governments. I have worked on numerous issues that affect Northern Virginia, primarily around the environment. I do have the endorsement of many Northern Virginia leaders. I think I'm gonna hit the ground running, and that's important. Also has a mother with a child who went through the public schools and is a student at George Mason University. I also have that up close and personal perspective on the educational system and how important it is in preparing the next generation. I've had a distinguished career, federal career, at the Department of Health and Human Services. I worked on Capitol Hill. I know all the sort of policy opportunities or policy games at the federal level and at the state level. So I think you're getting a very well-rounded package.
But you don't believe there are any significant policy differences or other major differences between voters could say,
I would be surprised if there are policy differences. I mean, I have more depth in the healthcare area than he has. I'm sure I have more depth in education. It's a question of depth. I don't think he's ever been involved in transportation discussions. I have more experience. There's no way around that. I know it's interesting at meetings we have frequently. Jaime stands up and says, I was a senior advisor to Senator Whipple. She would not categorize his job that way, and of course she has endorsed me, along with Senator Howell and Senator Sasslaw and Sharon Bulova and David Poussin, former delegate out in Loudoun.
Right.
These endorsements didn't come easily. They came after 14 years of working with these people.
Right. Sure.
You know, I mean, getting legislation passed. Getting budget amendments through. You know, I got a $3 million budget amendment working with Republican lawmakers at the state to help the county rehabilitate an assisted living facility, the Mary Marshall Assisted Living Facility. So that was me in Richmond, you know, twice a week doing my thing.
Okay. Well, let's move on to the next question, which is, you know, Senator Whipple obviously is retiring, as you well know, and she is still the Democratic Caucus chair in the Senate, so that will create a vacancy there. Would you? One of the deputy caucus chair right now is Phil Puckett. Senator Phil Puckett. Would you support him for caucus chair? Because presumably he's next in line potentially for that position.
Well, that's really an early question. I don't know the internal politics or dynamics of the Democratic caucus yet. So I think that's a tough question, and I'll refrain from answering that. That's not something that I think is particularly relevant to my race.
The relevance is that I guess we can make it more a general question. Would you ever support a Democrat for a leadership position in the state Senate who is anti-choice, which he is? He was one of the two Democrats that voted the wrong way on the Planned Parenthood and let that slip through the state Senate, much to Senator Saslaw's chagrin, I believe. And
right.
A lot of people,
you're talking about the one that to regulate clinics as hospitals.
Right. I mean, well, I think there might have even been another anti-abortion vote but I can't recall exactly. But Puckett is definitely anti-choice. There's no question about it. He's also been anti-progressive in a number of other ways on the environment, particularly, which I care deeply about: clean energy, mountaintop removal, coal mining, a lot of different things. The question is, would you, in general, and this is very relevant to the race, ever vote for a Democrat for any leadership position who is anti-progressive, basically, not for choice, anti-environment? I mean, these are all, you can look up the record.
My progressive values are very important to me, and I think the question in a leader is whether that leader is going to expect caucus approval for certain positions or not. I would never compromise my vote on progressive issues. And I can say that unequivocally. So what exactly the role of the leader is may have to be discussed more completely.
So you're open to voting for, let's say, someone like Puckett, or
I don't know.
Depending on what the leadership position details are of the role duties and all that?
Yeah, well, you know,
I don't want to put words in your mouth.
Yeah, again, I'm not going to compromise my values. So if you vote for a leader and you have to say, but I'm not going to support you on A, B, or C, then that may not happen. You know, there are a lot of other things that go on in Richmond besides the hot button issues.
Right, of course. I mean, this is the type of thing. This became a big issue in the 2010 congressional races. Would you vote for Nancy Pelosi as Speaker? It's sort of a signaling, I think, sort of thing where it's trying to tell people
Dick
where
Saslaw
they're coming from.
Yeah, and the head of our caucus is very progressive. So, I mean, being the vice chair of the caucus is one thing. Being the head of the caucus is another. Now, strategically, do the Democrats position themselves better if they have all sides of the spectrum covered? I don't know.
Right. So I guess the bottom line is you're open to voting. You know.
Well,
you're not closed. You're not totally closed. You're not totally against necessarily, but you're not going to compromise your principles. But you're not.
I'm not going to compromise my principles.
But you're not necessarily against per se Puckett or whoever.
It's not something I have.
I mean, it's going to come. It's going to come up.
Yeah, it's not something I've thought about at this moment.
If you're elected, yeah.
Which is interesting. I would hope I'd have more influence in who would even come forward.
Right. Okay. Okay.
So I would try to influence the choice before the choice is out there.
Well, okay, that makes sense.